not going to use the cane. I'm getting better. And the next time you see me, I'll be running. I have no doubt about that. Please, forgive me if I talk quite a bit about God. Because there's nothing you can do in life that you can do without God. He created everything. And he put himself in everything he created. That's what we don't realize. And we have allowed a rascal, the one who became purpose, and God threw him out of heaven. We allowed him to lie to us for too long in everything. And we follow him. Because he will do things for us God will not let us do. God is disciplined. This one, he said, don't worry. How many women do you want to befriend? 2? I'll give 5. How much money do you need? I'll give you an endless amount of money if you do so and so and so. I'm standing here today and I'll tell you this. Because of God. Because my own brother took me to occultists. An initiation, you bring a person to be killed. For your initiation, he took me. He took me. They went through the whole process. He's going to die. Here I am. I'm still not dead. Because God said no. They will not agree. The devil can't do anything without God allowing him to do it. If God says no, it is no. No matter what anybody does. Don't let anyone fool you. I'm standing here today because God said no. In the past 4 months, I've had 6 attempts to kill me. I'm not talking about somebody wailing you and attacking you. No, this is juju. This is juju. They've been to Benin. You name it. If you go to Benin and you are not able to kill me, that's bad though. Because that one is powerhouse. And so they don't know what to do. They say, I'm walking around at the airport. See what's going on? They are pointing at me. Say, what is it? I want to these people. I say, well, what do you want? Then I go to and say the same thing. They're saying, this guy, shouldn't he be dead? All the things we've done to him, why is he still alive? They're arguing among themselves. I said, go ahead. You'll be arguing with God. I'm still alive. If he says go, then I go. But if he hasn't said go, nobody can make me go. Please remember, God is the creator. He is not an equal of the devil. He isn't. So many people think he is. He created the devil. He created him that way. Right? You think the devil wants to be the way he is? No. He has been a true leader before in heaven. He was the prime minister of heaven, in charge of angels and archangels. Why would he come here and fool with us? But God threw him out. Please. He is not the equal of God. I'll tell you a story. My father-in-law, living in Texas, was bleeding. Every time he used the bathroom, a lot of blood come out. I said, no, if he continues like that, he will die for sure. We have to pray. We have to do something. Who can do this surgery to stop the bleeding? I don't know. So, okay, we have to pray. Prayed. One day, I bought a soap, 6 CD soup. I bought 2, and I prayed over it, and I sent it to him in Laredo, Texas. I said, I prayed over this soap. Use it. I'm sure you'll be okay. Okay. You'll get it in 2 weeks. I went to DHL. How much to send this to? Okay. 15 minutes more. Okay. Okay, sure. It's important to me, sorry. How much do you charge? 440 to send 60 this soup. Okay, send it. The customs said they won't give it to him. I said, why not? No, some ingredients in there, we don't know what it is, so we won't give it to him. I said, okay. So I'm taking a shower at KNUST guest house. And I pray to God, Lord, I know distance is no barrier for you. So as I wash myself, I'm washing Roger too. If I wash my armpit, I'm washing his armpit. Every part. When I said that, a hand came from nowhere. This is a small shower stall. And knocked me completely out of the shower. I hit the wall. Boom. What? I didn't see anyone. My wife was in the living room. He came running to me. What has happened? I said, leave me alone for a little bit. So I lay there, and finally, I said, aha, you devil. You think you are a mighty, you tell people you are mighty God. You are not mighty. You see, I dribbled you this time. I have become messy. Dribbled, you didn't see that coming. Yes, I'm different. Yes. Well, in the end, my father-in-law was healed. I'm telling you this. I know many of you think that we are not doing well because of Kalam said, no, all of that's going on. I guess who is the chief architect? It's the devil. If you never tackle that one, you ain't going anywhere. You can fix all the technical problems, you'll still be in trouble. That's what's going on. I know some of you don't believe that, but I have seen it with my own eyes. I'm going to talk to you about deficit spending. The corruption in the government resulted in deficit spending. You know how long we have spent deficit, money we don't have, above our budget? 40 years. Since 1980. Every year, we spend more money than we have. It's not our money. One day, former President Mahama said, we have chewed the meat to the bone. Today, I tell you, we have chewed the bone. That's what it is. It's not your money you are spending. You are spending somebody's money every year for 40 years. What do you expect to happen? You'll develop. How? I don't understand it. It's like we have become insane. We do the same thing, and nobody's looking at it critically and say, hey, hold on just a minute. There's something wrong with this. Nobody says anything. You keep going like that. You see, I'm sorry, I have to talk about this topic. I don't have enough time, but there are certain things you have to understand for you to make sense out of what I'm saying. A country should have so-called experts who can solve problems. Not go and read what the white man did and come and do it here. It won't work. We are not white men. We don't have the same mentality. Our people are poor. And yet we behave like we are the same as they are. We are not. I've lived in America for 30 years. They don't do things the way we do here. So we cannot be the same. Right? You go to school. I taught at KNUC for 10 years. All of them want to memorize everything. Somebody raised and said, this thing you are talking about is going to be on the test. So get up and go away. Just go. Go outside. There's a man there who is giving you a test. Go and get it. I'm not here because of test. You are supposed to learn and have sense. They don't like that. Just give us the apport. Yeah. Then we pass. That's it. What do you know if we just give you the apport and you pass? You can't solve any problem. That's the problem. The toughest course in KNUST was research methods. Many of the professors don't know how to teach it. They don't understand it themselves. Most likely they didn't understand it when they went to school, so they can't teach it. And they wanted me to teach it. I've taught it before, but I didn't want to teach it. It became a crisis. Finally, I said, okay, I'll teach it. Please, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I go a little bit over my time. Because I have to say this, and that's what I'm saying doesn't make any sense. You want to hear about deficit. What is it? We spend more than we have. That's easy enough. But why is it going on for so long and we still can't stop it? Today, if a student goes to university and does research method, he has a contractor who will write his paper for him. He himself can't write because he doesn't understand it. When I agreed to teach the course, it was a graduate course. Somebody asked me, what is the meaning of certain terms about that course? They don't understand it. Dependent variable and independent variable. What is it? He said they don't understand. I said, I know why you don't understand. Because you are using English to explain English. You are using words to describe words. That's what it is. That's why it's so difficult, but it's very easy. What is dependent variable and independent variable? So I took a leaf, a dry leaf. I mashed it and I said, in tree, we have a saying, Bibi anko ka papa, and yet tre. Huh? Bibi anko ka papa, and yet tre. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So what's that got to do with dependent and independent variable? I say, okay. The thing that touched the leaf to make the noise, that's the master. He touched it. That's independent. The leaf that makes the noise because it's been touched, that's dependent. It makes the noise depending on what the other thing does to it. Huh? Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Now you see, we can't write that in a textbook for you to read. It is not difficult, but we just memorize it and memorize everything inside. We don't know how to draw a budget. I'm sorry. I have to be honest. I get very angry when certain people bring people and tell us as if he is the budget guru, and yet, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think my time is up. But what can you say in 20 minutes about deficit spending? I haven't even started. Honestly, I didn't start. I haven't started. But if time is up, what can I do? What can I say? It's time. I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you so much. Can we clap for him once more? Well, as a lecturer, he did his presentation through storytelling, and I believe we've all learned a lot from it. Our next speaker is again someone we all know, and I'm making reference to Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu. The media, Dr. Nyaho will not be able to stand that long, so he's going to sit down. I don't know how you are going to position your mics. If it is here, will it be okay? Whilst he uses this, I'm sure you will still be able to capture, right? Say it again. Unfortunately, it will not be possible. Okay, say it again. Do we have one? Well, these are the speakers. Say it again. Inside here. Beautiful. So thanks for giving us a solution. So please, you can talk to him if you want that. Exactly, yes. So we'll bring the chair here for Doc to relax comfortably and have a conversation with us. Just a minute for the media to organize themselves. Yes. Okay. If they're asking. That's the question. But if he speaks through this, can't you all pick it? So you pick it from the speakers. Okay. So we welcome Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu. Please. Please, yes, can we? And Doc's topic is very simple. We are going to do an assessment. Remember, from the Corruption Perception Index, for the past 3 years, Ghana has been stagnant. In other words, we've been scoring 43% for the past 3 years. What it tells us is that literally we are not able to do anything in terms of fighting corruption. And so Doug is going to have an assessment of the past period, whether or not we are doing well when it comes to the fight against corruption.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Doc, please use this one. Right.
Normally, when I'm going to speak, I don't like to be put in a straight jacket because the situation in which we are in this country now is very disturbing. I think I will give you a little background about why some of us, I in particular, joined what we call the UP tradition. The leadership then, what we have gone through in this Fourth Republic, and what we are in now. I joined the UP tradition when I was convinced that the leadership then had integrity. I can mention just few. B.J. Darocha, first chairman of the New Patriotic Party. R.R. Ramponsa, K.G. Osebonso, Odoe Sykes, Peter Ala Ajete, J.H. Mensah. And I would say, I was fortunate to meet one of the members of the Big Six in Oshafort when I was then in detention. Now, these people I mentioned are men of integrity. We don't have them now in the party. I'm saying that with confidence. The party is now a party of money making. Young men who are just looking for money and property. They have no interest for the country, nor the citizenry of the country. And that is very disturbing and very dangerous. We've seen it before. I keep on saying it. The path we are on now, if we are not careful, can lead this country into another destruction. When Akufo-Addo wanted to lead the party, I was one of his strongest supporters. I did so because then I was convinced that the man I have known from infancy, a man I thought was selfless, a man I thought had integrity, a man I thought respects the rule of law. I felt I should give my support to him, and I did. I remember vividly when I was an ambassador in Serbia, he came on a visit to Sofia. Indeed, Bulgaria is within my jurisdiction then. And we had a chat. And I mentioned it to him that I feel he must get himself ready for the leadership role. To my surprise, he told me, in fact, to be very precise, he used the word Kofi Diowu has brought another person. And Kofi Diowu is former President J.H. Kufuor. And I was surprised. So I asked him, who is that person? Or who was that person? And he mentioned Alan Chiramantin. And I said, I remember Alan very well. He's a nice guy. But I don't think he's up to the task yet. I remember I told him that. Because by then they have these young executives who were then supporting the party when we were trying to put the party together. Now, he came down to Accra, and to cross-check what he told me, I took a phone and called one of the elders of the party. And it was confirmed to me. I felt injustice is being done as far as Akufo-Addo is concerned. So I flew down to Accra. I remember I came down in Alitalia aircraft. We landed somewhere around 8 p.m. The following day, by then, in fact, we were then having a congress at the Great Hall of the University of Ghana. The following day, I called the National Security Minister, Mr. Francis Poku, one of the best ministers we've had, as far as I'm concerned, in the NPP. Himself, and late Kojo Redu. May he rest in peace. Francis was very happy to hear I was in town. So we agreed to meet on Sunday after church. We met. And those of you who could remember what happened during that particular period when we were having the Congress at the Great Hall, the Congress couldn't end on Saturday as it should have been. It went through to a Sunday. And the Sunday, they couldn't even decide on who should lead the party, because Nanado couldn't get the 50 plus 1. Chiramantin had a sizable figure. Then the elders of the party then prevailed on Alan Chiramantin to step aside for Akufo-Addo. This is how Akufo-Addo became the leader of the party. After that, I remember myself and Francis were having breakfast in Francis' house when we heard a lot of noise they made. They have just left Lagos and they were driving down to Akufo-Addo's residence at Nima. Then I told Francis that I would like to go and see my friend and congratulate him. But before then, Francis was having reports as a security minister. Almost every second, a new report to come. Then at one stage, he said, Nyaho, your friend has won, but with a question mark. So I said, what question mark again? They says, he didn't win, but he couldn't get the 50+1. And Alain Chiramantel has been asked to step aside. I said, okay, that's a good move. When I was leaving Francis told me something. Well, normally he calls me my brother. He said, my brother, when you go tell your friend that he's no more a clan leader, he's now a national leader. I want you to think about it. Most of you here are young people. This country was built by somebody who believed in unity, and that the person was Kwame Nkrumah. Without unity, they wouldn't have been Ghana. Nkrumah made sure that anywhere he put a school, and he did, numerous schools across the country, students will be moved from the north to the south, or the east, or the west. When I was a student, you hardly hear of a tribe a person comes from, because nobody talks about it. Not that it is prohibited though, but it's not an important issue. What do we have today? If we want to build a nation, the first thing is to think about unity. No one in this country is superior than the other. I can say, here in this hall, that I'm definitely older than most of the people here. I have seen things in this country. I have seen coup d'etats in this country. I have been part of coup d'etats in this country. And I know what I'm talking about. I have spent almost 5 years of my life in prison. We have had leaders. I am saying that at the moment, the greatest threat to our democracy is the Electoral Commission. That is the greatest threat to our democracy. And if we are not careful, they will lead this country into destruction. Mark my words. Why do I say so? How on earth can transfers be made from one particular constituency to another without the consent of the person? These are facts. During the era of General Kutu Achiampong, may he rest in peace, that was a period that myself and 4 other officers wanted to move him out of power. But whilst we were in James Fort, Usher Fort rather, he was removed by some of our colleagues in the military, headed by General Fred Hakufu. Let's get one thing straight. Achiampong had the opportunity. He started well. But as a soldier, he wasn't trained to handle civilians. The moment he wanted to change the khaki into a political suit, that was when the problem started with him. Achiampong then decided to form what he called then union government. There are historians here, I believe. If I'm wrong, please remind me. I remember when we were on the desert, in Sinai Desert, in the Middle East. That was around 1976-77. We were then serving with a UN mission. And then we had a visit from the then Commissioner of Foreign Affairs. In those days, when they say a commissioner, that's a minister. A nice-looking gentleman by the name Colonel Roger Felly. He came with two gentlemen, Ambassador Clearand and Ambassador Sechi. These were experienced diplomats. And they came there just to do one thing, to address the troops. Because we had troops, the whole battalion was moved to that place. I think they are still doing that, because the time we were there, it was a bit rough. People died. Feli addressed the men. When he said the men, the fighting men. And then he addressed the officers in the mess. I remember vividly. He made mention of union government. He explained to us what it means. To my surprise, no one asked a question. So I remember I got up and I said, Roger, sir, I don't believe we were commissioned to come and rule civilians. That was not why we were commissioned. We were commissioned to fight and defend this nation. And he smiled and said, now, times have changed. I decided to sit down. But strange enough, when June 4th happened, most of you might have just read about June 4th. Definitely, most of you here have no idea what happened. When June 4th happened, and 5 generals were slaughtered, where they were picked and killed. Unfortunately, Roger Felly was added to them. And you ask yourself, for what reason? Let me mention the generals who died. General Utuka, Commander Amedome, General Frifa, General Achiampong, General Kote, Air Vice Marshal Yabuachi, and General Akufu. They were tied to the stick and shot. First in our history. Now, all the names I mentioned, we have Greater Accra, that's Kote, Volta region, Amedume, and Utuka. Ashanti region, Afrifa, Achiampong, Yabuachi. Eastern region, General Fred Akufo. No one came from the north. Listen to me carefully. No one came from the north. So Philip was brought down. To correct the equation. That's why Philip died. A nice, handsome man. He was not killed because he has done anything wrong. I want you to get that straight. So when people are fooling, the argument that we have on television and radio now, where a member of a political party will come and just try to defend the indefensible, must be a concern to all of you. Now, before I go on, let me tell you one thing that happened during the era of Achampo. In those days, most of the electoral commissions were either Supreme Court judges or appeal court judges. Achampo had a Supreme Court judge by the name Justice Aban. Aban was a very strong person. Achampo thought he could influence him. He couldn't. We had a referendum. I was then in Osha Fort. The referendum was either no or yes. Yes for those who want the union government, no for those who like the normal political life to be run. After the elections, the electoral commissioner came out strongly and declared that the no had won. Kutu Achampon didn't understand it. So he sent soldiers after the electoral commissioner. The same electoral commission. And the electoral commissioner was a smallish man, I remember. He had to jump a wall. Oh, yes. Justice Aban was assisted to jump a wall, a fence, to save his life. And that was the beginning and the fall of General Kutu Achampo. It was then that his colleagues realized they have to get him out of power. And that was what brought the police school, headed by General F.W.K. Akufo. The reason why I gave you this basics is to let you know what we are in now. When Akufo-Addo was sworn in, his speech was full of speeches that have been made by others, plagiarism. That should have warned all of us that we are dealing with a fake. But none of us challenge him. We clap for him. Not quite long after that, when he sworn in some of his ministers, the Ministry of Trade, there was a scandal there, huge scandal, where there was a millennium something, I don't even know what it was, party or dinner, where those who got or had the opportunity to sit close to the president have to pay monies. That was another signal. It was a great signal of corruption. And indeed, the minister then, Kojo Alan Tremantin, should have resigned if we were to be in a civilized country. Alan Tremantin should have resigned. Alan have had two opportunities to leave this corrupt government, but he didn't. That was the first one. The second one was when he joined Akufo-Addo during the second round of his term. The corruption didn't stop. It continued. People were complaining. And the president said nothing. What broke the camel's back was when a minister of state, and for that matter, a cabinet minister or whatever she was seen with physical cash of millions of cedis and dollars. I mean, it is frightening. What did the president say about it? He said, and I'm not going to quote him because I really don't know exactly the quotation. But what I understood was that instead of asking the minister to resign immediately, he rather patted her on the shoulder. The young people here, that's one thing I'll say before I leave. You have to learn the culture of resignation. Because without the culture of resignation, this nation will never move forward. And let me set an example, or give you an example of a young lawyer years ago by name Kwabena Jima Osebunso. I was then a student. I wasn't even in the country, I was in Europe. Kwabena Jima was Minister of Information in the military government. That was when Nkrumah was removed. Two chief editors, one from the Graphic by name Cameron Dodu, the other one from the Ghanaian Times, I can't get the name now, were sacked just like that, without the knowledge of the minister. Now listen to me carefully. So the minister, a young man then, before the largesse, decided to leave the government. So he wrote to government that he can no longer work with them. The general in charge, that is General A.A. Ankara, couldn't believe it. So he invited the minister to his office I said, did you write this? I said, the minister said, yes. Mind you, he was a young man then. I said, can you explain it to me? I said, I can't be of use to you when my editors can be dismissed without my knowledge. And KG Osebunzo has gone down in history as a principled person. And let me tell you this. Anyone who has no culture of resignation should not dream of getting close to political power. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So much. Right. Sorry for that. Thank you so much, Dr. Nyahu. Our next speaker, as we have on the list, is another person all of us know, and so I'm not going to say anything much about him. He's going to help us through political and judicial corruption. And I'm making reference to Dr. Ekwospio Gabra. Can we welcome him, please? Please, let's do it again.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and colleagues on the panel. And apologies for my missing those very important first two interactions or presentations. But I think many of you will know that I was here earlier and had to go somewhere before 4 o'clock to attend to another assignment. But it's a great pleasure for me to be here to join in with my colleagues on the Crusaders Against Corruption. That is the name of the organization that I happen to belong to on the board. And this is an organization that I hope some of you will join if you have not joined already. I hope Mr. Emmanuel Wilson, who is the Executive Secretary and Director of the organization, is also attempting to mobilize some additional memberships and directorships, because we don't want to have the challenges that have brought us here to continue to perpetuate into our political system, into our national economy. I'm so sorry that I missed the two presentations by my distinguished and esteemed colleagues, Dr. Amwakumba and Dr. Nyahu Tamaklo. Now, because you may know us as coming from different political traditions, I don't think there's any attempt to mask or confuse you as to who we are. I believe so. Is that correct? Yes. So if somebody was to ask you, what political tradition do I belong to? Who can give you an answer? I want us to have an interaction. I'm not going to give a lecture. We're having a conversation, yes? Very good. That's good. Excellent. And that tradition, how has that tradition seen itself evolve? Because Nkrumah didn't live forever, like nobody will live forever. He was overthrown by a coup d'etat, which we do as part of Ghana's history, a coup that was fomented and organized by the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States. That's also very clear. And since he left in 1966, it's partly because he left and the manner in which he left. That is why we have had these series of unfortunate results in our national politics and our national economy. He was obviously not going to live forever, but the foundations that he laid, and which others did not agree with, and so those who don't agree with him or didn't agree with him then, and their descendants have manifested a certain behavior, which is what has brought us here. And the behavior is what, in one other event, when I was a platform politician, I talked about it as chopocratic, kleptocratic cocainocracy. I don't know whether any of you have heard about this before. Kleptocratic, chopocratic cocainocracy. That is government. People say democracy is government by the people, for the people, and so this type of government is a government where people are chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping. That's all they came to do. And then klepto is the part of the stealing, kleptocratic. And the cocainocracy is that some of them, not all, some of them are well known to be users of the product. And that's part of a certain lifestyle which also has landed us in this situation. Because when people cannot even think clearly because of certain abuses that they are doing to their own bodies, they also take wrong decisions. And if they are also corruption-minded, then they are not interested in managing the national or natural resources of Ghana in a fair and proper and judicious way. You saw videos of Galamsey and all that earlier in the program. So when we talk about political and judicial corruption, what are we talking about? So the political, how do we define the political? Political, of course, that can be the whole Ghana. But there are so many aspects of the political that we must break it down, make it easy for us to understand. So we know we have a constitution of Ghana. We know that we are trying to practice a so-called democracy. That democracy, I will also tell you, is a Western-style democracy. There are many, many forms of democracy in the world. There's no one kind of democracy. But the democracy that we have bequeathed to ourselves through a constitution is a Western style based on a mixture, a blend of the so-called Westminster model, which is how the British govern themselves, and the American presidential model, which is where the Americans govern themselves. And because we are a kind of a neo-colonial country whose main features attempt to mimic these other organizations or countries or systems, we have a blend of a Western style, American style, British style, Westminster style governance. So in that system of governance, you have a president, and then you have a legislature, you have a judiciary, and then of course, those of us who went into journalism, communication, etc., like to consider the fact that we are part of the fourth estate of the realm. But in this political system, where the presidency is the body that has been imbued with so much authority, the president of Ghana, that is any president of Ghana, has authority over almost everything, and appointment powers over almost everybody, at least in the public sector. So all public sector appointments of any kind or the other derive from the presidency, other than for those who have to be elected. Okay? But if you think about the fact that all those who are in the office of the president themselves, who are not elected officers, people who, based on a president's being elected, also get appointed to the presidency, are all just appointees of the president. You can sack any of them at any time, and you can appoint any other persons at any time. That's a lot of power. And there are many people who feel that Ghana's constitutional democracy suffers because of the powers that have been given to the president. And there are those who also say that the particular powers that have been given to the president in the Third Republic reflects the system or the process by which Ghana became a Third Republic or a Fourth Republic under the PNDC era, where the transition into a democratic system with President Rawlings already in the seat as head of state made it difficult for those who were writing the constitution to take away too many powers from the president. And they had to give him enough reason to want to stay and be a democratic person. I wasn't there, but that's the kind of interpretation you hear sometimes. So the constitution was written with due respect for a president who would be reasonably democratic minded. So it's not just the letter of the constitution, but the spirit of the person who enforces it or who manages it. So you can write a very good constitution which can be managed very well by a president who thinks very cleanly, clearly, non-corruptly, and also in the national interest. And the same constitution can also be mismanaged and misapplied by another president who also has a different mindset. And so let's go away from Ghana into another country called the United States, just to see examples of how the same constitution can be well applied or misapplied. So at least we see on television and we hear that in the United States there was a President Obama, there was a President Biden, there was a President Trump. And so if you see how President Obama tried to manage the office of the president and did a number of good things, but a number of also very bad things for Africa. So don't let's forgive Obama for that, because he was there when the Americans raided Tripoli and killed the Africa's, I guess, next best president after Kwame Nkrumah, who was Muammar Gaddafi. We can't forgive the United States for that. And I speak as a former ambassador to the United States. Okay, so that was one thing that Obama did, and he's alive. So you should know that we are not happy with what he did to Gaddafi. But now we move from Obama all the way through Biden to another man called Trump. And Trump also did a number of good things for the United States. In fact, I mean, I myself admire him for certain things, including his ability to work with those countries that would otherwise make America not be so-called great again. He wanted America to be great again. And he looked around the world and said that, look, people like North Korea and Putin in Russia, these can be difficult people. So the best strategy for him was to try and get close to them and to be nice to them, just so that they don't fight, and to leave him to govern his country, the United States, as best as possible, and to allow the American economy to grow. So he did that. And that, I say, was good. But the bad part of his administration was his propensity to be almost a dictator, if he could, even using the same American constitution, dismissing and sacking and insulting everybody in his government, from his chief of staff to his vice president, and trying to overthrow the government, literally. By the time he was leaving office, there was a complete attempt to overthrow the government. And Dr. Nyawuta Nwankwo, being a military officer who understands this better than myself, Nuno Mensah is one of our colleagues. Unfortunately, he's not here today, but he has been here in the past, and he knows the military as well. But this was a non-military attempt, like using civilians, militia-type people to march on Capitol Hill and attempt to overthrow the government of the United States. So those things happen in a democracy. But if you understand, coming back to Ghana, that the democracy that we are practicing here, where we have a president, and I'm saying the presidency can be used for good or for bad. That's the first premise of my presentation. And we also know that, at least according to fishermen, and I come from a coastal area, my family is from both Sekondi and Cape Coast. So I'm a fancy fisherman, if you like, by orientation. But in that part of the world, along the coast, and even here in Greater Accra, it is known that a fish rots from where? a fish rots from the head. So of all the parts of a fish, the fish doesn't rot from the tail. The fish doesn't rot from the middle. A fish rots from the head. So when you go somewhere and you're looking for fish that is rotting, which part of the body should you look for? Very good. So if you are going in a democracy and you can see corruption all over the place, which part of the body should you be looking for? Very good. You've got the message. Now that is why when the president of Ghana appointed a very good friend of ours in this Crusaders movement called Matnamidu as the special prosecutor, and thus, if you're old enough, those who are at least 20 years, 25 years old, you may remember that there was a huge outcry of joy or happiness among many Ghanaians who felt that, oh, at long last, we have an anti-corruption fighter who is going to come and help root out corruption in Ghana. And I'm sure my colleagues who have spoken to before me may have talked about the implications of corrupt practices on the economic capacity of a country, the way corruption eats at the country's developmental prospects, and how the money that should be invested in your education or in your health care or in your social security or your road network gets wasted and abused in a big hole in the ground. You know about the big hole in the ground? It's supposed to be a tourist attraction, the biggest hole in the whole of Africa in the ground. Somebody said he had seen either a vision or something. God had talked to him and promised him that build a cathedral and then I shall make you great. Not knowing that it was the devil he was talking to. He thought he was talking to God, but actually the person was, the apparition he saw was not God. And the God deceived him into attempting to build a cathedral, and what we have seen is the result. Because it's in the Bible that if you try to build a house and you don't plan very well, you will not be able to build a house, you'll not be able to finish it. And your friends will come and laugh at you for attempting to build a house without finishing it. It's in the Bible, is that right? Very good. So that's an example. So the fish rots from the head. And when Matnamidu was appointed by President Akufo-Addo and he started doing his work, after some time, a number of things took place. I wasn't there, but we had various reports. And the bottom line for Matnamidu as a presidential appointee in the most important office of somebody fighting against corruption, special prosecutor, is for him to have come and announced. What did he announce? Who can tell me the famous phrase announced by Matnamidu about the presidency? How did he characterize the presidency? Okay, so mother serpent of corruption. I mean, that's one of the most powerful phrases ever coined in the English language. I know you are not using it often enough. And even those who are campaigning against NPP are not using that phrase often enough. I know President Akufo-Addo is not a candidate now, but he claims to have identified Mr. Bawumia, nurtured him, propelled him, protected him against other candidates like Alan Martin and others, and made sure that Dr. Bawumia becomes the NPP flag bearer. So if you do all those things, and you yourself have been identified by the person you appointed as the person who was to fight corruption for the whole country, and discovered, no, you guys have come from a place where I can tell you that the corruption you are looking for all over the place, don't look for it all over the place, though. Look for it in that place, in that one place. But that is where the mother serpent of corruption lives, works, and breathes, and foments trouble. Now, as if we didn't hear enough before that, not too long after President Akufo-Addo came into office, it was one of his own party henchmen, I believe it's Kennedy Japan, who came and said that, look, if you want any transaction to proceed, or you want to even see the president, you must pay how much? How much? Who remembers? How much? No, not that one. Another number. How much do you have to pay to just see President Akufo-Addo? Well, it could have been all kinds of people paid all kinds of monies, but Kennedy Japan quoted $20,000. That was a fee that I think he was either asked to pay or some friends of his were asked to pay. And he came and announced to the whole world that that is the price that anyone who wants to see the president of Ghana has to pay. We had never heard of this before in the times of President Rawlings, the times of President Kufuor, the time of President Mahama. This time you have to pay. And as if it was a joke again, before we knew, there was the other event where people were asked to attend a dinner. And if you sit by the president, how much do you pay? Just for the privilege of sitting by the president. You see, so that's how the corruption began. Those were the first early signs. And that should have told us all something, that something is not going on well in this presidency. That's the executive branch. I'm breaking down the politics for you to understand. The executive branch of government, where the most important decisions are taken, where the president has all the powers. So if the same president, now ministers have, you've seen the list, a long list. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the list. Maybe somebody has gone through some of them and I've mentioned some of them. But this list is just one. There could be double the list here of the incidents, the allegations, and evidence of misbehavior and corruption by officials of this government. I'm not saying that other governments since Kwame Nkrumah, there was no corruption in any of them. No. There has been corruption in almost all governments. Why? Because where human beings have to take decisions, anytime, any organization, not only in government too, in private sector, in private companies, in churches, among bishops, among sportsmen, among journalists, corruption is everywhere. So don't let us get the impression that we are here to campaign only against governmental corruption or against public sector corruption or against NDC and NPP corruption. No. Those who are crusaders against corruption are against corruption of all kinds and in all sectors of our human behavior. And so, those of you who have been in secondary school or who are in secondary school now, let me see by hands, how many people have been in a boarding school, a boarding secondary school? No, anytime, either current or before, even 20 years ago. Did you see some corruption in that your secondary school? Such as what? What kind of corruption, for example? Beza, okay. Beza chops some money, yes. Any other corruption that you saw? Sorry, Matron also did something, yes. The food disappeared here and there, yes. What else? Danny Hall prefect. Okay. But your chop box, was your chop box safe? Or something happened in your chop box room also? Your chop box was not safe. Secondary school, oh. This is not government. This is not NDC MPP. Young boys, 12 years old, 15 years old, 17 years old, you start practicing breaking into people's chop box. Is that correct? And do you know how people grow with those habits? Can you believe that people who break into chop box, they also break into systems and banks into later on when they grow up in life? That's why I'm tracing the sources of corruption and how human behavior, it's a human behavior issue. It's not a political party issue, even though sometimes and often political parties misbehave in government because they carry a lot of resources. The natural resources of the state are vested in the president. The president of Ghana, not Akufo-Addo, the president of Ghana, whoever is sitting in that seat, has all the natural resources of Ghana vested in him. So if you read the Constitution of Ghana, or you become a minister, as I hope some of you will become, you find that in the Ministry of Works, Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Natural Resources, Ministry of Mines, the president shall. And so if you have a president who is distorted in his mind or has a warped objective, which we now know, because the document called Ejapadia, who has said about Ejapadia document? Everybody has said about Ejapadia document. So people sat down, and you can see they thought through and brilliantly wrote out a plan of action. That we want to take over the government, and when we take over the government, this is our game plan. We must do this, we must do this, we must do this, we must do that. We must appoint this person, we must block this person from getting appointment, we must appoint people from this ethnic group, we must do this, we must do that. Carefully thought out, and they're executing it also. So those who have had the time to go through it, the checklist, to say, oh, this has been accomplished. Yes, this has been accomplished. No, this is pending. This is 30% complete. This one is 70% done, 90%. And they also evaluate themselves. The Japadia people, they have their own evaluation reports, which they bring out. It's fake. Well, the implementation is real, even though the idea is fake, right? The implementation is very, very real. So this is the problem we are facing in Ghana. And unfortunately, all of these things have landed all of us in bankruptcy. Financial bankruptcy, economic bankruptcy, moral bankruptcy, spiritual bankruptcy, bankruptcy of the soul, of the heart, and of the minds of the people. And so how we get out of this and where we go from here is maybe the subject for another event such as this, because we must now begin to look out for the solutions. We can always decry and complain and tell ourselves how unhappy we are. But and we ourselves are the ones who, on election day, will be asking for 200 cedis, 300 cedis, 400 cedis to go and vote. Is that correct? Are you aware of that? Jollof rice, T-shirt, television set, what else? TNT, yes. What else? Motorbikes, bicycles, sewing machine, deep freezer, TV set, blender. Because right now, if you, how many of you would like to be members of parliament one day, MP? But that is something that you should aspire to. Wow. That's a very, very good list. About 1/3 of you would like to be members of parliament. Very good. What have you heard about what you want to be an MP? If you want to be an MP in Ghana today, what have you heard some people are doing to become MPs? Lying. Okay, lying, yes. Also lying between husband and wife, a lot of lies take place. So it's not a national problem in that sense. You have to pay your way through. Who do you pay? Who do you have to pay? The voters, the delegates. I see. Constituency chairman. Very good. Everybody in the mind. So if somebody is trying to decipher where corruption is and what, would you say that the political parties themselves are main sources of corruption? The political parties themselves, how they mobilize their resources, how they charge fees to their members, how they decide who shall be chairman, vice chairman, general secretary, etc. Do you think that is also part of the corruption? So that takes place as well. Very good. So that's what I'm saying. The presidency has the corruption taking place, right? Then the political parties also have their corruption taking place. Now, Electoral Commission, which is supposed to manage the whole process of who will win and who will lose. Do you believe that, they say in football, some people fix matches, or even in boxing, they fix the match or the game, and somebody will win and somebody will lose. Do you believe that? You believe that? Okay. So, in football matches, what do you think is the value of a football match? For you to buy the referee or buy a linesman or something. How much money would you say is in a football match? $1 million in Ghana cedis. In overseas, foreign games, you have to pay $1 million or something for the match to come your way. If you're the owner or you're the leader or you're captain or something. All right, so assuming you are paying millions just for a football match, how much do you think you'll have to pay to make sure that your party wins an election? If you believe that the electoral commissioner or electoral commission of officers are also subject to influence in order to get the results that you want. I see. Well, there are people who believe that if you want to win an election and you have to sell your mother, you should sell your mother, and then when you win the election, you can go and buy your mother back. Have you heard that kind of phrase before? Okay, so these are all kinds of phrases that are being bandied around. And I'm sure it is true somewhere. I'm sure somebody has sold his mother before, or her mother before, and bought her back, but we didn't know. It was all under the table. You know? Pardon? Family property. So, presidency has been demonstrated to be corrupt. Current presidency. Then, and we know that presidency is associated with the vice presidency. They go together. So, the running mate, all that. Then we have the political parties themselves who are also practicing some of the corruption. The Electoral Commission. So you are saying that somebody is going to be a president who controls all the natural resources of Ghana and all the appointments of Ghana. And so that's a very supposedly valuable position that somebody is going for. And assuming you are the referee, you are the one who can determine whether this person wins or that person wins. And you say what the value of that position to you or to the people who want to win. So you are telling me that by definition, the Electoral Commission and electoral commissioners are highly exposed to various kinds of corruption. And so if a president decides that he will make sure that he packs only people who are, in his opinion, subject to his own party's wishes, they should be in the Electoral Commission. So you're going to play a football match against another team. And everybody that's lined up, the linesman, the coaches, the match commissioner, the whoever, the ball boys, they're all from one side. They're the side opposing you. What are your chances of winning that election? And that is what happened in the Supreme Court when a former president who felt he had won or had not been given fair treatment in an election took a case to the Supreme Court. What were the results? 9-0. And even when the court was only 7 judges, it was also 7-0. So it was all 0-0 zeros. All right. What did that tell you about the judicial system? Because in the United States, for example, even though a few cases may be zeros, I don't know of any. Most of them, somebody who expressed their personal opinion. So that even it's 7-1, they have usually 9 judges. They don't have an open system where you can just appoint, which is the case in Ghana, where I think we now have over 15 Supreme Court judges. There's no limit in Ghana. So the president can just appoint. And obviously he will appoint only those who he believes are for him. That's how the corruption begins. And that's why when people say that they want to break the 8, some of us say, I said, well, it's fine for a political party to say they want to break the 8. But we are saying, why don't you break the stealing and stop the looting? You want to break the 8? Yes, fine. It's a good ambition to have from a political party point of view. But break the stealing and stop the looting. Break the stealing and stop the looting. Break the stealing and stop the looting. At least, at the minimum. That's something that you can control within your party. But there's no attempt to break anything. And then when you ask the person who wants to inherit the kingdom of the head of state, he tells you that, look, people who say that, you are the vice president now. So if you say when you come, you do this. When you come, you do this. When you come, you do this. Do the thing now. I mean, you are the chairman of the economic management team. Why don't you do it now? So we can see that you can do it. But I say, no, don't wait. You see, the reason given was one of the most interesting ones that even 17-year-old boys in secondary school, I don't know whether you can laugh too much. You say, you know something? If I do all these things now, then what will be left for me to do when I come there? You see, the reason why I can't do anything now is because when I come into office, I'll have nothing else to do. So I have to wait. And then when I come into office, then I show you what I can do. Can you believe such a story? Well, you can call it many names, but that is the statement that the current Vice President of Ghana has told all of us. That just allow me, pardon? Well, that is his idea. Let me come into office, and then I'll show you what I can do. But don't ask me to do anything right now. But if that is true, then it means that he has not done anything for the last 7 years. If you follow that logic, right? That wait for me to come into office first. That means that for the past 7 years, he did not do anything, did not intend to do anything, because he was always waiting to come into office first. He didn't want Akufo-Addo to get the credit. So I must come and get my own credit. Is that the person who want to be a president of your country, right? Well, let's hope for the best for everyone. So we have an election coming up in December. And of course, all the political parties are going around. But one of the corruption issues that we must think about is how the political party law itself is being abused. Because the Constitution and the political parties law have very clear guidelines as to who can be a political party. Under what circumstances anybody can have a political party. How many offices they should have in various parts of the country. And whether they should file financial reports of their activities for the last annual financial year or not, etc. But many of these parties are not following these rules. They're not following these laws. And you expect the electoral commissioner and electoral commission to disqualify some of them. But you find them still coming back. I won't mention any names, but you see their posters and billboards sometimes only when elections are coming up. And if you go into the history of whether they've obeyed the rules, you find that the rules have not been obeyed. So why are we tolerating certain political parties who don't even obey the basic rules of what a political party should do? Those are all different kinds of the corruption challenge that we are facing. So there's political corruption, there's judicial corruption, and above all, and the worst part of it, is the financial corruption. The corruption that has taken place in the country, where you have a long list, where ministers are hiding money under their where do they hide their money? In their beds, under their beds, not under their tables. In polytanks, where else? Under the bed, yes. Wardrobes, underground, any other places. Under their carpets, abroad, car boots. So you see, Ghanaians and the media, you think ministers or the ordinary Ghanaians don't know how public officials misspend and misuse funds. But here you are. That's why I'm making it interactive. So it's not just me speaking, but the audience also knows. Ghanaians know. And so when you as a minister or a former minister, you've stolen all kinds of monies, you have all kinds of cars, all kinds of buildings, you are very pleased with yourself. When you are driving around town, people look at you and they smile. They say, this man cry, oh, don't mind him. This person cry, oh, we know. And so really at the end of the day, it's about whether your own reputation counts for anything. What is the purpose of your being on earth? That's what every one of us must look in a mirror and decide at some point in their lives. What am I on this earth for? Am I here to chop and quench and steal and pillage and rape and rape and rape and then die? And then when the great Queen of England died, how many of you saw the funeral? Queen Elizabeth. Did you see it on TV? And then her husband, Prince Philip, also died. How many cars did they go with? They didn't go to heaven with cars. They didn't go with castles. Even the crown, they didn't go. The crown, the jewelry, they didn't go with it. So you see, that's what, when you look at your end, then you know what you should be practicing before that end comes. When you realize that you will not go anywhere with anything that you are allegedly stealing or with your bank accounts, your families will come and fight over the money in your bank accounts. How many in your families are there some fights? Are there any families here where there are some fights over people's money or properties? That's what happens when you misbehave in public office and you die and leave all kinds of assets. Your family members come and fight over it. I think somebody was appointed as Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission. Are you familiar with that one? And when he died, apparently, how many kinds of assets did he leave for his family? I think I heard over 100 single units of property. Whether you're calling them cars, you're calling them houses, you're calling them parcels of land, he left for his family, but they are still in court, fighting over these things. So, one thing I learned as a young person, which also happens to be in the Bible, I think the biblical phrase is, a good name is better than riches. Is that correct? a good name is better than riches. How many of you believe that? Especially those who want to be MPs one day. How many of you who believe that? Those who want to be MPs, you're not raising your hands. Those who want to be MPs one day, you're not raising your hands. A good name is better than riches. You see, and then one of my favorite writers put it a very interesting way. Because he was a poet. So he said that a good name in man, dear my Lord, is the immediate jewel of their soul. He who steals my purse steals trash. It is something nothing. It was mine and it is his, and it has been a slave to thousands. But he who filches from me my good name robs me of that which not enriches him but makes me poor indeed. Thank you very much.
We can still do it better. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much, Doc. Are we enjoying the day? Are you really enjoying the day? Very well. We're supposed to have two other speakers, but unfortunately, for some few reasons, they were not able to make it. And so we're going to have our main and our last speaker. Then after, we move to the next session, which will be the last session for the day. So please, I believe all of you again knows Mr. Daniel Yadomlevo. Your Domlevo, my Domlevo. Our Domlevo. Please, let's welcome Mr. Yadomlevo.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. Oh, is that all you can do? Good evening. I was trying the disallowance powers of the Auditor General, you see. Yes. I would like to say that I am very grateful for giving me the opportunity, especially to speak to crusaders against corruption, and on no other topic than corruption and economic inequality. Those who are conversant with the Constitution of Ghana will know that one of the directive principles of state policy of the country, which the Constitution provides, is that the state must take or shall take steps to eradicate corrupt practices and abuse of office. The Constitution, which we all subscribe to, requires that the state take steps to eradicate corrupt practices and abuse of office. Why? Because if corruption is not kept or reduced to the minimum, there will be inequality. Some will sleep empty stomach or hungry, and some will be throwing excess away. To relate the story to what Honorable Speaker Gabra said, I'll give you a quick story about one professor called Professor Babalola, who is a Nigerian. He was actually the Vice Chancellor for University of Lagos. He said during one of their graduation ceremonies, a gentleman came up with the maximum scores. So he called him and said, "My friend, I'll give you scholarship to go and do your master's." And the gentleman thanked him and actually went for the master's. The professor had forgotten about the gentleman. 2 years down the line, the gentleman came and said, "Prof, thank you very much. I'm done with the master's." He said, "Oh, you are done?" He said, "Yes." "Then proceed and go and do your PhD." And he said, "No." He said, "Oh, you don't want to do PhD?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Why?" He said, "Prof, because my colleague, who doesn't even have first degree, and is the chairman of the local authority where I am, he has cars, not a car. He has houses. He has wives. I don't have any of these. All that I have is paper. Therefore, I am not going to do PhD. So the professor who was so disturbed asked, what are you going to do? He said, I'm joining politics. It's a story, but that is true for us today. The most lucrative job in Ghana today is politics. Is that not it? Doesn't it beat your mind, ladies and gentlemen, when you see colleagues of your age or people who have just joined politics about 4 years ago, they had one trousers like me, and all of a sudden they own V8s and houses. Some of them come even to the public domain and tell us how filthy rich they are. They don't know no shame. And to be very honest with you, my heart beat for you, the young ones. Let me be very honest with you. You don't have a future. They are destroying your future today. They have mortgaged all your future. Whatever opportunity they can get, they are using it to mortgage your future. They are living as if there is no tomorrow. They have to steal at all costs. With due respect to my seniors who are in front here, at times I hear that expression, the good old days. The good old days. And I say, what does that mean? So you mean those primitive days, life was better in Ghana than today's day and age with the technology and knowledge we have? We should bow our heads in shame. It means this is a leadership crisis. Is that not it? So when we are talking about corruption, what it does is that it gives just a few people the opportunity that we should all have. Hence, you are thinking, this evening, how am I going to feed myself and my family? Meanwhile, somebody is throwing food away. If you see the way they are partying, if you see the type of resources they are using, you ask, is it the same God who created all of us? Sometimes you are tempted to think that you were created by maybe one of the lesser gods or the angels. But we are all created today together. So let me position and say that corruption, I agree entirely with my previous speakers when we say corruption has engulfed the country. Actually, I say it's a religion which has overtaken all the other religions. It doesn't matter which religion you belong to sitting here. Corruption is at your doorsteps, knocking very hard. It has overtaken all the tribes. You can't say that's for this tribe they are corrupt and these ones they are not corrupt. It is taking over from everyone. But you see, I have so much passion about fighting public sector corruption instead of the petty corruption as I call it. Because it is the public sector that sets the pace. In fact, what is even criminal, it is only government who defines. Do you know that? Do you know that wearing your shirt can become a crime tomorrow? Immediately they decree, when you wear something like this, it is criminal. It's criminal. The government can pass a law tomorrow and say, if you slap one another, it's no more a crime. You start slapping each other. So government actually drives the system. It is government who sets the pace. And there are examples for us to see everywhere. Go to the Singapore or the Malaysian example. You see, it is from the top. And actually, the Singaporean leader said, when they took over, they had the option to do two things. One of them is to make their family filthy rich or to serve the interests of their people. And they decided to serve the interests of their people. And African leaders say, we will go for the first one. We will make our family rich. Because the Singaporeans and the Asians have taken the second option. So we will go for the first option. But it is all about leadership. I was speaking at one of the forum at the University of Ghana last week at the law school. And I made my position about corruption very clear. And I'll repeat it. That corruption is a leadership problem. It's a leadership problem. It is a sign that leadership has failed. Because as a leader in your houses, if you're a father of a house, do you allow the small ones or the toddlers who are just about 2 months or 3 months to fight over food with those who are 18 and 20? You make sure you share it. Is that not it? That is the job of government, to take care of the people. But the government now is taking care of itself. So when we were talking about the crisis, you didn't mention one of the crises. The kakitocracy, which is incompetent people being put in places. Some of you call it square pegs in round holes. Kakitocracy is also one of our problems. So we put people who are not fit for purpose in charge of our systems. And that is, to me, a big problem. I remember when I was in Controller and Accountant General's Department. I've been there since 1991, when Rawlings was the president. There was thievery in the public sector. As for this corruption we are talking about, it's nothing new. It was there. But it was in the few thousands. Thousands or thereabout. Then we moved to President Kufuor's time. Then they added some zero. Became about 10,000, 100,000, 200,000, thereabout. Then Prof. Mills, John Mama came, then it went to the millions. And now, OPPP. Now it's OPPP. If you hear the figures, you will not even believe it. At times you hear the figures and no, that is not correct. Wilson, let me correct you. I saw on your paper, for instance, you talked about payment to Crow and Associate. It's not 1 million Ghana cedis. It's $1 million US. I was going after Osafuma for over $1 million, not cedis, please. So please correct that document. We were fighting over $1 million. That time it was about 5.6 million Ghana cedis. Now it will be 15 point something million Ghana cedis. That's what we were fighting over. So my admonition to you, young ladies and gentlemen, I'll premise it on that of my uncle who said, if you don't have the culture of resignation, don't venture into leadership or political position. Mine to you is that challenge the status quo. Let's not accept that saying, Sanieno. And the worst part of it is some of the Akam brothers will put it, Obia didn't ejuma. But at times they are eating the job itself. People are actually eating the tree that bears the fruit. Instead of eating the fruit of the tree, we cut the tree. So I am just trying to say that it is necessary for us, especially we the crusaders, to fight for reasonable equitable distribution of the public funds. I ask people, I don't know how many of you who have traveled around the country, is it acceptable today's day and age for people to be drinking water from the same pond that animals are drinking from? With today's level of technology and knowledge, is it acceptable today's day and age that they are pulling children from a wall which has fallen in school? Did you see the video where a wall has fallen on the school children and they were trying to lift the wall so to pull the children out of it? And how much money went into education? So that is why some of us, we are not happy with the level of corruption in the private sector. But it is the public sector that sets the pace. And in countries like Rwanda, when you go, you see the public sector is very disciplined. Even the discipline, you can't be disciplined and indisciplined at the same time. It becomes a behavior. Once you are punctual, you are always punctual. For instance, I was here at least about 40 minutes before the program started. Because that is me. When you say 2, I literally take it 2. And I expect it to start at 2. So I'll come. There was a previous program also over here last month. The same thing. I was here almost an hour before it started. So the point I am trying to say is that it is time we hold leadership accountable, irrespective of who the person is. We must not be partisan in our approach by saying that, when NPP is in power, I have the voice. But now I don't have the voice. By the way, I am a Catholic. I want to confess that. I'm a Roman Catholic. And I believe in the Catholic faith. But my bishops have lost their voice. They've lost their voice completely. And I'm shocked. I spoke to some of them, and one recently told me, Daniel, when you speak, they say that, what are the facts? Do you have the facts? Again, they say that you are partisan. And so when you were speaking, you were partisan. Is that not it? Now you don't want to be partisan. Good. So you don't have the facts. And say, my Lord, you don't have the facts. You are not aware of the pit we are talking about. That over $50 million have gone into digging a hole. Whilst children are studying under trees, we are not aware. We are not aware of the Palugu Dam, that 11.9 million US dollars have been paid. Meanwhile, there's only bush. Nothing has started over there. You are not aware that the sky trains have not yet arrived, but we have paid $3 million. You have listed a whole lot of things over here. They are not aware. Woe unto those who call evil good and good evil. I don't think that is what we should stand for. And my dear brothers and sisters, let me be honest with you. When we stay aloof and look on and say that this corrupt practice does not affect me, never you know that you may be the victim. The day you run into pothole and burst your tie, you may be leaving this earth. Because you and I, we didn't speak against that contractor or that minister who gave up the shoddy work, as a result of which they are lining their pockets. So from my point of view, corruption endangers even the corrupt people. Even the corrupt people, they suffer it. And I am aware of a very senior political figure who I remember we were having discussion. He comes from the north. And I was asking him, given the political influence that you have, can't you influence bringing up the Tamale Teaching Hospital up to tertiary level that it deserves those days, not now? And he said, look, my people don't even go to hospital. When they are sick, they just go and get concussions. And so even what they have over there is more than enough. He said, oh, is that it? God being God, he went up north and got sick and died at the same hospital. And I said, I wish God is doing this very often. When I heard of his death over there, I said, thank God. He died over there. There is another friend of mine who we used to talk about corruption very often. Against corruption, actually. And because he's aligned to the current government, anytime we start talking corruption now, his position has changed. It's very neutral. He doesn't agree that there is any corruption. Daniel, you are looking too far. Fortunately, again, he was receiving treatment at a dialysis unit. And because they shut it down, he's dead. When I heard he's dead again, I said, thank God. He's my friend, but I said, thank God. In fact, the group discussion, I almost wrote, thank God. Then I remember that it was a group discussion. So I wrote, may he rest in peace. He should have known what peace I'm talking about. I meant he should rest in pieces. But that is how it goes. No matter how rich you are, say that you think you can charter a plane and go abroad and receive medical treatment. If God is God, the sickness will be said that they have to rush you to reach and you die there. So it is in all of us our interest, young men and women, to fight corruption. And I would like to ask a simple question. Ladies and gentlemen, assuming I have enough money and I gave all of you here $1 million, which is about 15 point something million Ghana cedis. Now, it shall come to pass, what will you use it for? What will you use it for? You see? From my point of view, your needs do not reach that amount. You need only a small amount of money to survive. So I ask the question, why are people stealing not even in 10 millions of dollars, 100 millions, billions? And it is said that somebody has so many millions even in his house, and some are stealing some, and it's mind-boggling. So it is time for all of us to ensure that we fight corruption as we are enjoined by the Constitution. We may not be able to eliminate, but at least reduce corruption to the barest minimum. Otherwise, we have no future. Some don't believe in Ghana. I do. I say that all we need is a change in leadership. Once we have a change in leadership, me too, I'm not too grown, but I have seniors over here. But I remember when Rollins came and we were in school, and we saw some leadership in Rollins. We left school and went to evacuate cocoa. I don't know if you heard of that story. I went to Inteso. You know where Inteso is? Who knows Inteso? It's in the Kwau area. After Kwau Tafu, going. You are reaching Koko, you climb the mountain. Going to my holy village. You know, I'm from a front place, so I know the area very well. The Intesu is over there. I even left my shirt there. Because when the soldiers say, let's go, and you don't join the truck, they will go and leave you. So I hung my shirt, and they say, let's go. So I have to run and go and save my body instead of my shirt. It was later on that the students realized that government was playing trick with us. Hence, there was conflict between the leadership of students or students' body and the leadership of government. So all that we should pray for, ladies and gentlemen, is a transformational leader, an ethical leader. A leader who has the vision and the track record. Not a leader who will tell you something the next day tell you is a warped logic. Thank you very much.
Please, let's give it to him again. Let's give it to him again. Thank you so much. So, we've sat for a long time, and we are getting tired, I believe. But I also believe that all that we are learning or we are being exposed to is worth it, right? And most importantly, as I said earlier on, that governance is a serious business. When you are going to vote, don't have at the back of your mind that I'm voting so that the one I'm voting for will win, so I'll celebrate or I will cry because the one. Okay, that's not the essence of governance. You go to vote so that you can secure your future. That is what you should have at the back of your mind. We are going to have the next session, which is going to be a panel conversation, and that will be as brief as possible. We want to give all of you the opportunity to engage our panel members or our speakers. And so we are going to arrange the chairs and invite our panel member, our presenters or speakers to come in here. We'll engage them in a conversation. The floor will be open for you to also ask questions. The media is here. If they also want to have any question they want to ask, they can do that. But whilst we do that and we encourage our speakers to come upstage, Ralph, if we have the Al Jazeera one, can we play it whilst we invite our speakers upstage? Please, thank you very much. Let's clap our speakers. whilst they come.
This is what Africa's largest gold producer looks like from above. As gold productions boomed in Ghana, illegal mines have sprung up along most of its rivers. Earth is mixed in the water, making it untreatable. Miners use mercury to separate the gold. Once mercury is in the water, it's nearly impossible to remove it. Downstream, Ajuwa Menu depends on river water for cooking, drinking and washing, as do most of the people living in the countryside.
Our children often fall sick. Many people are dying these days, and we strongly believe it's the water. The river was our source of clean drinking water until the mining started here. What can we do? The police come and chase the miners away, but they always come back.
Dr. Elliot Tanor says mercury from the mines is killing people. He says the number of patients coming to this hospital in Ashanti region with kidney disease has tripled in the last 10 years, and about a third of them can't afford dialysis, so they die.
This mercury is something that we know that definitely affects the brain, it affects the liver, and it affects the kidney. So we are worried because we tend to see a lot of patients coming from mining areas with all forms of kidney disease. So we know definitely that there is some link.
Ghana's main water provider says the pollution's become so bad it's having to switch off treatment plants because they can't make the water clean. There are abundant natural water resources here, but they're becoming unusable.
If all these things are to continue the way it is, in addition to climate change, we may have most of the rivers in our country may go extinct, and then we may have to be importing water into the system.
Researchers say the government urgently needs to enforce environmental laws to stop illegal mining and clean up the rivers. The health of tens of millions of Ghanaians may depend on it. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera.
A zoo in Mexico has opened a new centre.
This is what Africa's largest gold producer looks like from above. As gold productions boomed in Ghana, illegal mines have sprung up along most of its rivers. Earth is mixed in the water, making it untreatable. Miners use mercury to separate the gold. Once mercury is in the water, it's nearly impossible to remove it. Downstream, Ajuwa Menu depends on river water for cooking, drinking and washing, as do most of the people living in the countryside.
Our children often fall sick. Many people are dying these days, and we strongly believe it's the water. The river was our source of clean drinking water until the mining started here. What can we do? The police come and chase the miners away, but they
So many times. This is not the first time. I remember the former president, Kufuor, saying that corruption is as old as Adam. So it's been there. But it looks like instead of us fighting it, every now and then we are rather making it worse. And if you remember what I said earlier on, that if you look at the
just be that the disease of corruption, which I think I was referring to, is a moral accomplices and accessories to most of the corruption that we complain about. And there are those who have alleged that many people complaining about corruption, unlike those of us who actually have been in positions of authority and power and with access to all kinds of money, and have simply ignored or avoided the temptations that come with public office. Many complainants against corruption are people who have just not been tempted before. They've not had the opportunity to be given an opportunity where they have to resist, consciously resist. And it's very difficult and can be painful to resist corruption for a number of reasons. The families that we all belong to don't all accept that the right thing to do is to avoid corruption. And so in most cases, they expect many of us to be corrupt and to share the benefits of the corruption with them. Right. It happens in many families. Right. That if you receive a public appointment, people start celebrating immediately. In fact, the story is told of in the, I think, the PNDC era, where a particular person's name was mentioned, and 3 different families started celebrating because the name was similar. I mean, a fairly common Ghanaian name. They didn't say that the person is from South Sunchesu or from Tamale or something, but I don't want to mention any particular name, but the person with a name that is generic, and many Ghanaians have that name, has been appointed as such and such. And 3 different families started celebrating in 3 different locations in Ghana, only for the person to come eventually to Parliament, and then they found that, oh, this is the particular one who had been appointed, coming for vetting. But why do families celebrate? Is it because the person that has been appointed is going to do a lot of difficult work and will have to resist a lot of temptation? Or is it because most families think that, oh, since our uncle or our cousin or my schoolmate has been appointed, hey, then this is my time or my chance also to enjoy the goodies of public office. I think that it's rather the latter. People celebrate others at the time of appointment because they intend or expect to benefit from that appointment. And when they don't benefit from it, then they become, many of us here are not necessarily the most popular people in our families. To be a crusader against corruption, you are not likely to win a popularity contest, especially in your own family, because they see that how come people are riding in the latest model, Land Cruisers, and you don't have a Land Cruiser, or your Land Cruiser is an old one, or you have even chosen some other car apart from Land Cruiser. They don't understand it.
That's right. Thank you.
And people are living in certain parts of Accra, and they have big mansions and homes, and they are traveling with their families in first class compartment, not even business class, two times a month to certain destinations around the world. And we don't see you and your family doing that. So what happened to you? Is your mind not working properly?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So please, I want to get a take of Mr. Yadom Levo on this same topic.
Yeah, thank you. From my point of view, I support and I agree with what Honorable Dr. Spiogabra has said. I've said earlier on somewhere that if there is something called the end justifying the means, that is the era in which we are. Once you are rich, it doesn't matter how you got rich. Nobody cares about it. But even if you are known to be a corrupt person or a thief or whatever, we don't care. Once you have the money, it is good enough. And actually, I share a story about my friend who is in the US, came back and is gone to our village and is putting up a huge building over there. And in the course of the building, one of the workers said that, thank you very much for this. You have given us employment. You are not like other people who have the opportunity and they have squandered it. And they say, like who? He said, oh, are you not aware that the Auditor General comes from this village? Oh. He doesn't have anything. He's there fighting crusade, corruption. Instead of him getting some of the money and break, he's there fighting, say he's protecting the public purse. So he called me and told me about it. So that is part of the reason. The main reason is because of leadership crisis. We don't have ethical leaders. We don't have leaders who are minded of the fact that public funds is for the public. It's not for individuals or only people who are in leadership position. We have leaders who don't feel for us. Once they are comfortable, they think it is okay. In fact, if you ask some people, they think Ghana has progressed so much because of their own conditions in life. They can do everything. They can globetrot. They can do everything that they want under the sun. And they think it's the same with all of you. So lack of ethical leadership, the leadership that thinks of the people, sacrifices for the people, we don't have that. And I think that is part of our problems. And because we don't have ethical leaderships, there are no consequences from his behavior. There are no consequences. You still will get away with it. Of course, if he has gotten away with this, why will I also not be motivated to try it? So he gets away with it, I also try it. If I get the opportunity, I also get away with it. And finally, because we don't have ethical leaders, we don't have systems in place. That same Ghanaian who you say is corrupt or she is corrupt, go to World Bank and IMF and find out who are working there. The same Ghanaians, same cultural background, everything, and they do everything according to the rules because they know the system there will not allow you. So if you have the good leadership, ethical and transformational leadership, they will put systems in place. The Ghanaian who will every day go to work an hour late, work for about 3 hours and run away, send him to Canada, send him to Britain and see whether he will miss the train. He will not miss the train. So I think these are the things that are disturbing us. Thank you.
Doc, you want to make an impact?
Yeah. Okay. I have a different outlook altogether. I think everything we are talking about the middle part, not from the beginning. Stealing is an indication of something wrong somewhere. Auditor General, you were talking about systems, but then you say leadership. Leadership is not system. If I'm a good man, you are lucky. But Americans assume nobody is good. They say, if men were angels, there would be no need for government because they know what to do and they will do the right thing. But because men are not angels, it means they are bad. That's why you need rules, laws, and make sure you specify what happens at any point. If you break it, this is what we are going to do. For example, our constitution is completely false. This is why the president is able to do that. It is not spelled out. It's not spelled out what should happen. For example, one MPP minister was deputy minister. When he died, we found out he had about $30 million in his account. John Kuma. How is that possible? How is it possible that one person will have $30 million in his account? Did he steal the dollars? No. No. They printed money. They shared the money. They didn't give that part of the money to Bank of Ghana. Take it home. And they are waiting for you. Because they are in charge. They went to IMF, give us money. Now you change your cities that you printed for dollars. It means it's a collusion there. It's not a single person who is doing that. It's a collusion. It's a cartel. We have to look at these. The laws is what is going to correct these things. Not if you're lucky you get a good leader. That's what it is, luck. But I need laws with teeth If we write laws for the president that this person who speaks 13 million, the president has to call his heirs to honor. First of all, you freeze all his assets. Nobody touches anything until the courts decide. Right now, as I know, they've shared his property. He was trying to open a construction company or something, imported about 100 trucks. The family members have come to remove all the trucks. The government is asleep. Nobody is saying anything. Where do you get the money from? Then you get Cecilia Lepa. You have money. Then they argue that, that's her own money. Why can't she keep it at home? I said, nobody said you can't keep it at home. But why are you keeping it at home? Tell us why you are keeping it at home. And where did you get the money from? Cecilia, this is your money. But where did you get it from? Somebody says funeral donation. Okay, it was in dollars. What is going on here? As if we don't know anything. Nobody will stand up. And when somebody is challenging, you get her cronies come and say all sorts of nonsense. Really, it is nonsense. And we don't say anything. We don't do anything. What do you expect? If the person gets away with it like that, the next one will do it too. This is what happens. If we have good laws, that's most important than the leadership. The leadership is important. You are just lucky if you get a good man. But I need laws so that I can hold you to account. No matter how bad you are, no matter how corrupt you are, and you answer to the law.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think laws are important, but ethical leadership is the most important thing. I say so because when I was a small boy, in those days, when there's going to be a major news, it's given at 1 o'clock. And we heard of the dismissal of the then finance minister, Kobla Agble-Bedema. We heard of the dismissal of Minister of Commerce, Kujubusio. We heard of the dismissal of Minister of Communication, Krobo Edusei, and everyone was surprised. These three people were the best lieutenants Kwame Nkrumah had when he started. But Nkrumah was such a strong person that when they went wrong, he dismissed them. And that is the type of leadership we want in this country. If a leader knows that his subordinates are doing the wrong thing and is strong, he will definitely deal with them, unless he's also a robber. Now, I have personally said, and I will repeat it here, any person who takes over from this present government, if the leader refuses to see to the investigation and prosecution of this present government, I personally will fight a single fight against that person. Because the country in which we are now is a country where the leadership is made up of thieves. Thieves. If we are not in that state, why should we be so broke by now? Why? When people who have just got to go through dialysis are not able to get the services of the hospital, simply because they money is not there. At times when I think about it, they say $50,000 dollars. When individuals have stolen millions of dollars. If we get the type of Nkrumah who will be strong, ethically powerful, and know exactly what the feeling of the people are, I think we shall get somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I just set the ball rolling. Now the floor is open. This session is for you, actually. So if you have a question, contribution, comment to do, just raise up your hand, and then we can take it. So I saw the first one there. So what we'll do is probably we'll take three. First three, and then we take it from there. Yes, sir. First one.
The mic.
Okay, it's the same mic. Okay. Or you have another one? Can you bring it? Can we start with you? Please come forward so that we can be fast.
Thank you very much. My name is John Achukakito. My name is John Achukakito from Northtown, Water Region. Respectfully, I would love to speak tree for the purpose of some of my colleagues here. Make a tree. And I am person me can say, me person me damn penifoni nyinasi. Nyami shromo. Ni nyamu yema yen youth no. Say, nipa dudu na ewa ha no. Yeka ekrasi a yefri a yen nipa bebre. Yen mami ni yen papa mu krasi omu fi no. Wa ho brase mu ni obuo mu. Say, nipa dudu na nko hoda. Ena yen nipa dudu na akwai te say ye wo ye won kan ha. Nti abrabo no nkran abrabo no nkwan na eti ase. But many impenifo to kwenda. Nkran some of the village in Krana City no uko ho a it's a ghost town. And then at the contia we a young man 20 years 25 years 30 years who person who rented down one kran higher expensive ni say yen na ye dwane fi krasi ho go fi ni ho say because a ghost town na fi ni ho nti na ye dwane aba ye wadan wo ho a obi andem ba ye won kran ha na ye hu kire yen enti say who say portals bi wo mpatemu because penimbi political class ni bi avies ka gu ni bottom say umami and our sister call hospital na ye yi what yi so no who say omu did that form impact omu ni bi ndaso a e che say political class ni bi avies ka gu ni bottom so who say nkwala ti indiasi esua dia e che say penimbi avies ka gu ni bottom kronu Dr. Nyawota me can say we are being governed by thieves akonfo and a governors a govern here kakra bi wo mo ye papa na sa kakra na e papa no ye mamu kan say on be do man ni so enti mi twa so no mi sra mu youth no we are revolutionaries and I'm calling on all of you to stand like Kwame Nkrumah and to stand like Jerry Rawlings. Rawlings was only 31 years. He was not a politician. He was not a politician. But a buffon, chrono, and a man Rawlings fee, Amimu, Bayan, or Yamayan. And to be catch them youth, this country belongs to you people. You must write. Thank you very much. Alunga. Against corruption. Well, I want to ask that when we were in school, right from the primary school up to the tertiary, we were taught separation of powers and then also check and balances in our governance system. So I'm asking, we've had so many corruption scandals whereby at the end of the day, when you give it to the courts to continue from there, we don't hear any valid judgment or any reasonable judgment from the courts. So we are asking to understand that Important personalities like Lawyer Martin Pobu said that our constitution is a joke. And I'm asking, we knew that the constitution was written by professors, people who have a strong academic background to write the constitution. So I'm asking, what is really wrong in these independent bodies, the courts, the executive and also the parliament? What is wrong that we can't fight corruption in this country? Thank you very much.
How many people have copies of the Constitution? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. And tell the truth. How many of you have the Constitution to know what you should be doing for Ghana? Because it's a two-way thing. We'll get the leaders doing the right thing, but if you don't do the right thing, you become corrupt. So that's what I wanted to contribute.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there are no questions, so can we have the next here?
My name is Isaac Akanweligi. I wanted to go to the mining side. Gold mine or other continents do the gold mining. Okay. Because if the other countries do the gold mining, why our own be different? Who is the leaders who do that galamsey?
Thank you so much. Just give it to the next one. Next one. Please, yes.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Frank Adigbo. I want to veer off the topic a little bit. I have a personal question for Dr. Nyawonya Otameklo. I'm a football fan and I'm a House of Folk fan. I would like to ask Dr. Nyawonya as a board member of House of Folk, what is happening to House of Folk? You know, that is, please, it's a serious thing to me. Okay, it's not like I'm not taking.
All right, let's go. Can you bring it here? I'm coming. You will bring it.
Hello, thank you very much for giving me the pleasure to ask a question here. I'm in the person of Isaka Aremiao from Accra Technical University. Please, my question is that. Can we listen, please? Please, my question is that, looking at the look of things now going on, and also corruption has undermined all the institutions, organizations in Ghana here. And how sure are we that if the next government comes in power, we can eradicate corruption? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Your brother wants to talk. That will be the last for this session. We'll come back to the next one and we'll close.
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity being given. My name is Abdul Jalil Sani from Accra Technical University. When the first speaker was talking, Dr. Amakoba, he did state the tremendous impact of understanding in problem solving. So based on that, I would like to ask my question in the shoes of we the youth, that the impact of corruption on our futures. What are the dangers that we, the youths, don't see? Maybe we know, but we don't understand. Because it's like society has coerced us into just accepting things and not looking at the future. So I would like to him to update us on that. Thank you.
We'll do the last round and then we'll bring it to a close. But at least we have 3 questions that I got from all that we've spoken on. We will let our speakers address them quickly, and then we'll take the last set of questions and then we bring the program to a close.
Yes. If I can address the issue about the youth and what they must be aware of as far as corruption and the impact that it is having on you now and all the way into the future. One easy way is to discuss the per capita debt. That is, how much money do you owe as you are sitting down here, just because you are Ghanaian? Not because you have stolen any money, but because of the misbehavior of other people which has created debt for all of us Ghanaians. If we divide the debt of Ghana amongst all of us, how much do you and your children and children may have to pay? Depending on the exchange rate at any particular point in time, and depending on how the calculation is made, the figures are in the 20s, between 20 to 25,000 cedis per child, per person, which means that a child born today at Ridge Hospital, Kolibu Hospital, or a maternity home starts life, day one, owing 25,000 cedis. And that amount also, if you add interest rate to it, it will be accumulating at the interest rate 20%, 25% in perpetuity. So it's a big challenge. And if you don't personalize it in this way, so we realize that we all owe these monies. So the first order of the day, apart from the point that Dr. Nyamuta has made about prosecution, etc., is retrieving as much of the assets and the stolen monies as possible, because that should be the first amount of money that any new incoming government. So you don't want to start taxing people. We must recover the money that people have stolen first, no matter where it is, anywhere in the world. And that becomes immediately 100, 200, $3 billion that any new government can start working with. So you should be in the process of making noise about this in your newspapers, radio stations, right to the editor, anywhere you are. So that becomes one of the principal pillars. Then when we come to the mining sector, the Galamsey sector, that's where the main problem there is the illegal mining. That's Galamsey, all right, but the illegal mining in forest reserves. You know, there are many things about that is wrong in the mining sector, but mining in portions of Ghana which have been reserved since Kwame Nkrumah's time, since colonial time even, that this area we are not mining here, and this government has given authorization and licenses to people to mine inside the reserves. And the incredible fact about mining is that reserves, that because the reserves are not near any human habitation, you can't even see it or hear any noise going on. It's deep inside, 20, 30 miles inside the forest reserve. You can't hear the noise of excavator or anything along the main roads. So the people are doing the Galamsey at the point you can't see. This is where Rawlins's passion, because he was an Air Force pilot, he was flying around the country a lot, and he could see things happening from the skies. And if he were here, it would have been easy for him to spot some of the illegal mining activities that were going on, because he was even concerned about just bushfires. Something as simple as bushfires. If you are flying with him and he sees a bushfire in an area, you zoom the aircraft and find out what is going on, and then radio some officers to come to the place and try to take care of it. The mindset is one thing, the soul and the spirit is another thing, and the laws are also a thing. Then, of course, moral behavior. It's a mixture of things. It's not just one solution and that will fit all.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Yeah, I can associate myself with the comments of Honorable Spiogabra, and I would like to say that the difference between the type of mining we are doing here and all other countries is lack of discipline. The same Chinese who are spoiling our water bodies here, who are destroying our forests, they dare not do what they are doing in Ghana, in China. They will be killed. In China, once you go that way, you are destined for death. They will kill you. But they know. That's why I said earlier on that here they can get away with murder. They can destroy our water bodies, do anything at all, and get a pat on the back from the politicians. Didn't we hear of Aisha Wang? And what were we told? That what will we benefit if we jail her? Ghanaians are wallowing in jail, and the foreigner is, oh, let's expel her from the country. Later on, we realize she's back. Or some even say she didn't go. So that's why I keep saying, look, we can have dozens of law. Let me emphatically say, laws do not implement themselves. It's leadership. Let's not waste our time with laws. Ghana has enough laws to check the crime. Were people not jail for causing financial loss. Have we repealed those laws? But what is happening today? Are people not causing financial losses? And what is happening to them? Nothing. So the truth of the matter is that until we get the leadership right, and you see, leadership by itself may not necessarily be very right, but we have to set the pace for them. We have to say, look, until you do this, we are not going to accept. Remember, recently, I don't think it's up to 3 months, they were going to sell some hotels owned by SNIT. Is that not it? Yeah. When organized labor even just signal that we will shut down the country, what didn't government do? They back off. Is that not it? So if organized labor can let government back off its plans, what happens, you think, if all of us come together? So let's not sit aloof and see the wrong being doing and think it doesn't affect us. Somebody talk about how does it affect the youth. To be honest with you, you are very pathetic. Your situation is very pathetic. If you ask my seniors over here, they'll tell you when they were in university, companies come and start offering them employment. By the time you finish university, you have a job. The Unilevers and those companies. Today, how many applications have you put on written? And who cares about your application? Until you know someone. So they are denying, it denies you the opportunity to live like a decent human being. You don't deserve the 20 Ghana cedis they are giving you. The 200 they are giving you, that's not what you deserve. You deserve a decent job. So when they come pledging that they will give you this and they will give you that, that's not, you don't deserve handouts. You need to live as a human being. That's what corruption is doing to you. Thank you.
Okay, I have to say something here for correction. When I say we need laws, not just any law. A law that is not enforceable is no law. If we make a law and say, whenever the Auditor General cites a public servant for corruption, the president may not interfere. You understand? And he shall be assisted to bring it to a conclusion, its natural conclusion. Would that make a difference? You cannot tell him to proceed on leave. You understand? We don't write the laws properly. They don't know how to write it. Parliament. That's what it is. You finished. That's it. So please, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying leadership is not important. But look at the situation. We have leaders from the beginning of independence to now. What do? They are all bad leaders. What happened? If the laws is tightened, if it's written properly, what is called restrictive due process, which means I'm telling you what should happen when this happens. You heard what went on in court. The Constitution didn't say shall. It didn't say who or where. Nonsense. Say exactly what should happen. Don't leave it to people to decide. When you do that, you have no choice. This is what I'm supposed to do. Even if it's a friend, you can't do anything else because it's spelled out. The president is supposed to investigate or appoint a committee of investigation if a public servant is charged with theft of more than 5 million. What do you think will happen to Kuma's case? The president will be sitting there not doing anything. You think so? If you write laws generically, nothing will happen. He behaves as if you are not seeing it. You heard it too, that he's not doing anything because there's nothing forcing him to take action. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you so much, Doc.
Enforcement of laws really is very important. I believe strongly, and I think I've said this on a different platform, that if the monies stolen from this country can be brought back, definitely we shall be able to balance our own economy. I will give you an example. somewhere in Saudi Arabia, in the Saudi Arabia itself, when this young prince came up, he knew the amount of money that have left the country from all the prince and the others. So what he did was that he invited them into a hotel and made sure that there are military men around the hotel, that none of them can escape. And they brought with them their checkbooks, because it's realized the amount of money that had been taken out of the country individually by them. And if you sign the amount of money that you have taken out of the country, you are free. And believe me, they all signed. And it was billions of, if not trillions of dollars. That is what we need in this country. When a thief is caught, the law should deal with him. But where you have a situation where the courts start playing tricks or are in bed with the executive, then you have a problem. Because I can't understand an individual, and for that matter, a minister, having millions of dollars and cedis in her house. Such a case can easily be allowed to go free by a court. If we are very serious and we want our monies, but these monies are your monies and our monies. These individuals who have stolen the money have not worked for it. But when you are suffering, you must know that you are suffering because somebody has taken your money. And the gentleman who wants to know about House of Folk, I can only say that we never say die.
All right.
And
thank you.
Maybe you might not know what is happening in the club, but the present leadership of the club is doing very well.
Okay, Doc, thank you.
We have just received the keys of one of the most beautiful buildings in Accra at the moment. Go to Farah Avenue, you see it. Okay. I don't believe there's any club in Africa who has got that type of building.
Doc, thank you so much. Doc.
And also,
House of Folk.
Also, just give me a second. And also, I would like you to go to Bobby Man and see things with your eyes. And also, close to our office, we have a commercial center. Go there too. And all this belongs to Accra House of Folk. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know there are so many hands here, but I'm coming. Let's appreciate one thing. Most of us here are youth. We've been sitting from 2 o'clock, and I'm sure most of you are tired. So, can you imagine the old men? Okay, can you imagine the young men? Can you imagine the wise men? So I will plead, if we all agree, I will plead that after this session, they will spend some few time with all of us. And then you can interact with them. Is that accepted? It's accepted. It hurts me because I really want it, but maybe let me just veto my own. Because it's, with the exception of lawyer Nanajua, no other lady spoke. So there's a lady up there let's just allow her to ask her question. And that will be it for the session. Is that okay? Thank you so much. Be very brief, please.
Thank you. Please, just two questions. The first one is, I'm Naomi Ankra. Mr. Nyawo Tamako, you did mention that you joined the UP tradition due to their credibility. And now you can see that your party has, lost that thing. As youth, I want you to help us with the name of the party that has lost the credibility. And that is one. And then the second one is Mr. Domlevo. Please, if given the opportunity, once again, when the next government comes to power, and you are given the role as the special prosecutor, will you handle the call? And then what will be your last strategy? And then what will be your last strategy in eradicating corruption? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So that is it. I think we all agree that it was good I gave her the chance. Very well. So it is two questions. When you're done, maybe in answering, I also want to add my last question to it, and that is brief, less than 30 seconds, all of you. The question is, 7th December 2024, we are going into an election. And I'm asking this question because the show that I host on TV XYZ, Politics and Beyond, that is the question I ask all my guests when I meet them. 7th December 2024, we are going into an election. Look at the youth here. Look at the citizens here. What one advice will you give to them? And that's a question all of you will answer, in addition to the two questions that was raised. So maybe let's answer the two questions first. So, Mr. Domlevo, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam. If my memory serves me right, the OSP law, that is the Office of the Special Prosecutor law, you must be a lawyer. And fortunately, I'm not a lawyer. So I don't qualify to become a special prosecutor. But granted any opportunity to fight corruption in this country, I can assure you, people will run through the roof. Because the anger I came with in 2016 has multiplied. Because I've seen the corruption has grown beyond what can be accepted. And I have said it, and I've positioned this several times, and I'll repeat it again, that until there are consequences for misbehavior, the misbehavior will not stop. So we need someone who will hit people on the forehead. And once you hit at the top, and of course, to be honest with you, I won't waste my time at the petty corruption. Because in public financial management, we say that it storms at the top and drizzles at the bottom. It doesn't rain from the ground. It rains from the top. Just like, who gave the fish analogy? We say it storms at the top and drizzles at the bottom. You just hit 2 or 3 ministers, there will be discipline. Assuming the Minister of Education is surcharged for not accounting for his expenses, what do you think will happen to the headmaster? So that is how we rule countries. And in examples that I have from Mayati, Dr. Mayati, Malaysia, what did he do? He sacked his close friend who was the minister because there was a contract for landscaping at the ministry area called Potrijaya. And it was his son who was doing it. So he went around and said, we are putting up beautiful edifices here. And who is in charge of this landscaping? And the minister will not talk. He said, let's step aside so that I tell you. He said, tell me. He said, no, sir, let's step aside. He said, okay. He went. After telling him, he held his hand and said, okay, now it's good you told me, so tell everybody what you told me. And he said that, I said, it's your son's company. He said, I thought you loved me all this while. If you loved me, you'll have ensured my son did the right thing and not this. So you are fired. You are no more my minister. And again, he ruled that as long as he remains the prime minister, no family member will do government business. That is the type of leadership we are talking about. Leadership is not for family and friends. It is for the country. Thank you.
Same question again.
No, Dr. Nyahu, there was a question for you.
I made mention of a number of people who got me convinced to join a particular political tradition. And I believe strongly, if they were alive today, what is going on in my party now will never, never, never be tolerated by them. Now, can you believe that a man like J.H. Mensah, who was once a minister, indeed, when J.H. Mensah came on the political scene, he was an advisor. He was among the advisors who wrote the 7-year development plan for Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. At a very young age, J.H. Mensah. Can you believe that J.H. Mensah died without nothing? Not even a block. He owned nothing. Indeed, I was at home one time when the wife came from England. He has got children. If I'm telling lies, they should come out and say that I'm telling lies. The wife came to me. She knows me very well. She was a mate of my sister in college. Then she said, Nyao, your friend, you have to talk to your friend for me. Now, JH is far, 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 far senior to me in age. What was the message? She said she's tired living in England and she wants to come back home. But there's no home for them. The husband has not got a house. These are the type of people who want to lead Ghana. So also was Aram Ponsa. He died with nothing. William Oforeta died with nothing. They came to serve the people, not themselves. Nkrumah died with nothing. All the rumors about him, investigations, nothing came out. These are the leaders we want. Not leaders who will come and steal the money of the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So now, the very final question, which is an advice, and we'll start from Dr. Spielgabra.
Yeah. Well, I think on 7th December, we want Ghanaians to take a cue from a Twi language advice that was, I think, popular in the Kufuor era, which was Wasitna Nato Abapa. That's all. Look at your own circumstances today and use that knowledge to vote wisely. So without recommending a particular MP, recommending a particular party, use your own wisdom, look at your own circumstances, and vote accordingly. Vote wisely. But to the law enforcement agencies, electoral commissioner, and the army and police, I think one of the things we need to make clear that we do not want them to go beyond their mandate and their authority to misbehave before, during, and after the elections. That's very, very important. And I know that Tamaklu, being a former military officer, may even have very, very specific advice on this. But my own civilian view is that military and police officers should double the size of their identity names, the names on their, those who are going to take part in the elections. Not every military person, but those who have been given specific assignments, they have a name tag. They must double the size so you can see it from far away. None of them should be allowed to cover their faces. If you find any person, if any Ghanaian finds any person with a mask on their faces before and during the election period, they must be treated as a criminal. Yes. that person should be treated as a criminal. That, whatever that means in that community, they must treat that person as a criminal. Thank you.
Very much. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, we are all going to vote. Like it has been said, Shawasitinam Natwa Bapa. So you look at your lifestyle, how you have progressed or retrogressed, and then you vote. But more importantly, don't be influenced by the goodies that they are sharing. In fact, if you can't avoid collecting them, collect them. But let it not influence your decision. Because those are booties. Those are stolen items from government, which they are bringing back to the people. So collect it, but let that not influence you. What should influence you rather is the policies that they are coming with. What are they saying they are going to do? And you don't listen to only promises or policies. Has the person a track record when he was MP or when he was headmaster or a head teacher? How did he behave? If the person doesn't have the track record, you can be sure that he will promise you, and next time you tell you, I got 80%. You know, they mark themselves these days. They set the questions and mark themselves and then ask more questions. So please, let's wise up. And I cannot say more than what Honorable Speaker Gabriel has said. I think to our law enforcement agencies, the bullet doesn't dodge the soldier and get only a civilian. When the bullets start flying, they will also fall. So they should know that we are in this together. We either build a country together or we destroy ourselves together. If you have seen war before, you don't wish it for your enemies. I have worked in post-conflict zones. I didn't see the conflict though. Post-conflict zones like Liberia, South Sudan, etc. I remember even though after the conflict I went to South Sudan, there was one day that I said, what was I looking for over here? The warring fascists, they started. That is when I knew what war was. If you go to South Sudan, their doors and windows are made of metal, not wood, because bullets will pass through and get you. So they use thick metal in making their doors. And if you hear the noise on the door and the window, they were just praying. The next morning, I came out just 2 kilometers to the Ministry of Finance. There were bodies lying all over the place. So don't wish for war. In the Ewe language, when there's a proverb that if you say it should happen for us to see, at times when it happens, you can't even look at it. I hope you get me. Those who say it should happen and let's see, at times when it happens, you can't even look at it. So let's not wish for disturbances. No matter how the anger of Ghanaians are, let's translate that into a civil duty of voting and voting right. Not the destruction of property we saw in Kenya. They will come back and tax you in order to go and repair it. As for the V8, they will drive it. So they will still collect your money and go back and replace the V8. So let's rather vote them out if we don't like them instead of destroying. We should not destroy our property just because we are angry. We should not be violent just because we are angry. I don't think that is the right way to go. But let people not just influence you. Look at their track records and what are they promising. Is it doable? If it is not doable, don't waste my time. Then bring in somebody who you think can do what is doable. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I know there are so many people who don't know how to decide this season who to vote for. I won't tell you who to vote for. The formula is very simple. It's a choice between the devil and a witch. They are both bad. But who is worse? Ask yourself. The devil and the witch, who is worse? Then the party that is not good at all, that's the devil. The other one is good, but they got some shady parts too. That's the witch. You decide for yourself. It's a choice between two evils. This one is bad. This one is absolutely bad. So throw out one out. That's how you decide. Very simple. I'll give you figures. NDC came, the deficit was 220 something billion, something like that, cities. MPP came, and deficit is 500 and something, more than that, 700. Well, who is the witch and who is the devil?
Thank you so much.
On the 6th of December, 7th December, but on the 6th of December, a journalist came to me. Please listen carefully. A young journalist. It was after 9 p.m. And by then, I have been suspended from my party, the party I was part of those who formed it. So I was a bit careful. And I went to my bedroom and brought my gun. I don't go out without a gun. Now, of course, the young man didn't see it. But when I saw him, I knew immediately that this man definitely cannot fight me. That was on the 6th of December 2016. It was there the young man asked me how I find the coming elections, just like we are doing now. And I told him that if Ghanaians did vote Akufo-Addo, they will regret terribly. 2016. Those of you who don't know about it, it went viral. Now, in any good democracy, you look at the performance of the government, and based on that, you vote. As you sit down, you are not children, you are adults. The moment you are above the age of 18 in this country, you are an adult. Recently, in Britain, they changed the government. And the indicators were quite clear that the then government would be voted out. And they were voted out. All the indicators so far in this country, posters or whatever you call them, have shown clearly that my own party, apart from being unpopular, are not the choice of the people at the moment. And if we have a genuine election, that's why I keep on warning the Electoral Commissioner. Because if there's going to be problem in this country, it will come from them. I know what I'm talking about. They should be careful that they don't walk this country into a disaster. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let us all come together and appreciate our guest speakers. Let's thank them so much. They've been very wonderful. Very, very wonderful. Dr. Mwakuba, we need to rush him back to the airport for him to get a flight back to Kumasi this evening. Let us also come together and thank each and every one of us who participated in this function. You can always follow Crusaders Against Corruption online. Go to our website, go to our social media platforms. And our next stop is going to be in Eastern Region. Get interactive with us, and then together we can build and save our future. On this note, I want to say thank you so much, and God bless every one of us for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you.